of the Lake Forest Finance Committee. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Cowhey.
Here.
Chairman Pandaleon. Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Waldeck.
Here.
Alderman Moore.
Here.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Here.
Alderman Tack.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Alderman Adelman.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item on the agenda this evening is consideration of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on April 16, 2012. Any comments or corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Our next item on the agenda this evening is approval of the TOWNLINE Community Park Playground Project presented by Chuck Myers. Good evening, Chuck.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Get this going. I am here to seek your approval for the purchase of the remaining playground installation materials and the surfacing for the TOWNLINE Community Park. As you recall, City Council approved the purchase of the equipment back on March 19th. We do have that all purchased now. It is at our maintenance garage and waiting for us to install it. When it was approved, City Council agreed to wait to look at the conditions of the field out at TOWNLINE and make sure that the drainage project that we implemented last fall was working. And we have been watching that, monitoring that over the last few months. We are very pleased with the results on that. We've had a number of people watching it as our staff. We, in the past, were seeing anywhere from 8 to 10 days after a large rain event was taking for it to recover. In the bigger events that we had this spring, we saw recovery in just a couple days. We haven't had a lot of rain since those times, but we are still monitoring it. And I know a couple of the aldermen have been out there, a couple park board members have been watching it. We also had a certified turf specialist from Conserve FS out there. He was the one that we worked with on the drill and fill. He's very pleased with it. He recommended keeping on with the other practices out there, such as fertilizing, aerating, overseeding, adding more turfus. He said if we keep doing that, it will only get better. So right now, we're waiting for the grass to get growing. It's doing pretty well, but we want it to grow, and that will further help with the drainage. So on the surfacing end of things, we did work with New Toys, Leisure Products, to look at different options. Staff is preferring and recommending the poured in place surface. I brought a sample of that if you're not familiar with it. This is the surface that you've seen at a couple of our playgrounds. I'll show you those in a moment, but there are a number of advantages with this over loose fill material. It is a much cleaner surface. It dries out quick. You don't have to wait like you do with chips. You can get back on it right away. It is handicap accessible. Important thing for us is it requires far less maintenance over the life of the material, and it is more consistent in its safety aspects. And what I mean by that is with the loose materials, we tend to get cupping, and you get areas that are less covered for falls. And falls represent about 80% of injuries. So when you have those worn out spots under the swings, that's something that makes it less safe. So we are able to make it more consistent by having this poured-in-place surface. The other parks that we have it right now, Forest Park Beach, the dark areas, that's the poured-in-place in the sand. And then also at Kinderhaven and just last year at Waveland. Staff has been very happy with this product. It does cut down a lot on maintenance. We don't have to go back out there and move chips and things like that around. With the 5R products, you have to replace them on an annual basis. We did work, as I said, with New Toys on this. They are a member of the HGAC buy program. It's a cooperative purchasing program. Therefore, that satisfies the bid procurement process that's required. So it saves the city costs and time saving. So the funding source for this, we budgeted in the CIP $30,000 in the Park and Public Land Fund, and then we would be looking to take $3,481, and that's the $33,481. That was all budgeted. For the additional $54,000 that's required for the poured-in-place, we would like to take that from the Recreation Fund, and this would be from the surplus reserve that has a balance of $700,000 in excess of the city's 15% requirement. In your packet, in the Finance Committee packet, we changed some wording. So if you're looking at that one, I wanted to let you know that the one in the City Council packet is correct. It's the same as the one on the screen. It adds the part at the end about the HGAC buy agreement and awarding that to them. So staff is recommending approval to purchase the remaining playground installation materials, the poured-in-place, for TOWNLINE at a total expense with the additional installation and the surfacing material. It'll be a total of $87,000 that we're asking for, and that would include the $33,481 from the Park and Public Land and Special Recreation Fund, and then the $54,000 from the Recreation Fund surplus. Any questions?
I have a question about the composition of this. It looks like there are really two levels.
Yes.
Layers.
More.
When there's a gouge, how does one repair the gouge?
They have to cut. We wouldn't be able to do it ourselves. This is something that the contractor that installs it can come back. They have to you can tell it's kind of there's a binding agent in there. The lower level is more of a cushion. If the gouge goes all the way down, they would have to do a cutout in it. And I've seen that on other playgrounds. They can cut out a piece of it and reinstall the material. It comes in 55-gallon drums when they pour it, so they would just need those two different components.
Do you get a lot of gouges on the first surface as opposed to the lower surface?
We haven't seen, I mean, we've been pretty happy with it. To my knowledge, I haven't seen any kind of gouging. I would imagine if a piece of equipment or metal or something could knock it out, but it's been pretty durable at the beach, and it takes a beating with that sand down there. It's fairly abrasive. We're not seeing any major wear on it yet.
Chuck?
Yes.
You mentioned it's at the beach, which kind of answers in part a question I had is, what's the sub-base underneath here? Is it gravel? I'm thinking about water. This looks like water would go through it.
Yeah, it does sheet over it actually, but there is a gravel base under it that's compacted.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I would be concerned about water being trapped in here, not draining away, and maybe a mold situation starting to fester.
It does, they do slope it so that it does sheet drain, and then we would be doing drainage along the outside of the playground. This would be surrounded by a concrete curb-like structure.
And do you ever have to treat it with like a chlorine or something once a year just to kill anything?
No, we haven't had any problems like that at all.
Chuck, just one question for you. So you're confident that the drainage issue, excuse me, in TOWNLINE is on the way to being repaired?
Yes.
And we're not gonna pop up here in the next 6 or 12 months with, oh boy, we've gotta do, you know, a few $100,000 worth of drainage work there? Okay,
Yes, we're very satisfied with the progress.
okay, great.
It's doing
Don, I've been out there a bunch with my dog watching it too, and I think it's pretty effective so far. The only comment I'll make is that the grass looks like somebody had hair transplants. They look like plugs, and then you can see raw spots of earth, and I don't know if we have to spread some black topsoil or what, but it'll be so much better even yet once the grass starts to tighten up, and you don't see the perforation, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're waiting for. We did find that the soil had a high magnesium concentrate in it too, which is typical of a clay soil, so we're working on that. We actually applied a product about a week and a half ago, and that's something that will improve the turf's ability to take up nutrients. So we're doing what we can. The grass is the key out there right now. We feel like the drainage is going okay. We need the grass to take off, and we didn't get as wet of a spring as we could have, but it's looking good.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Chuck? No. And I think, Chuck, if I understand, you're up next too with the tree inventory program?
Yes. Okay. As you recall, we had a fairly lengthy discussion on March 19th also about emerald ash borer and the plan that we're putting together for that. And through that conversation, we talked quite a bit about the tree inventory. And as I said then, it's a vital part of our attempt to manage this problem. So we've gone a little further with this, and we're now needing to get that inventory going. And time is important on this. We'd like to do it this summer. So not going to go back over what we talked about already. Got a slide that shows basically the reasons why we do the inventory, that the public safety, to the short and long-term planning, the efficiency that'll offer us, the public relations component with the software that we would be getting with this would be very helpful in fielding calls and public relations wise, but also for budgeting and for the management of the EAB and other pest problems. So I will go right into the cost on this one. We are seeking approval to enter a professional services contract with Davie Resource Group to implement this inventory. The cost is $40,000. As you recall, we put $20,000 in the CIP budget. So where that $40,000 is going, that is about 9,400 trees that will be put into a computerized inventory. This would be done by the contractor, by Davie. They would also offer oversight on the whole project. They would be training our staff as well. And when I say providing the oversight, they would be managing the project. We would tell them where to go, but they would make sure that it's consistently put into the system, that they do a lot of quality assurance on it, and they would overall get it into the program. So 40,000 would be the first phase of this. And the reason we're looking at Davy Tree, we have looked at a number of different companies out there. Davy is one of the largest companies that does tree inventories. We like that because there are a lot of smaller companies and many of them have come and gone. We want something that's going to be consistent over the years that we can rely on. They are a very large company, but they also have local offices. They are very reputable. This is a division of Davy. You'll see Davy Tree Company. That's a completely different group. This is a research, and they do consulting services. So they are a leader in the tree inventory industry. This software that we'd be getting is called Tree Keeper. That is a specialized software that we've tried and a very easy product to use. Staff preferred that product. And then also Davy has extensive experience doing tree inventories throughout the country. We did do a pilot project for Forest Park. We did the inventories on the tableland for the master planning, and we were very satisfied with it, and we thought that they were very easy to work with and did a nice job on it. The funding for this, as I said, we budgeted the $20,000 in the CIP. We would be requesting an additional $20,000 from the general fund under the city council contingency. And finally, we are recommending the approval to enter into this professional service contract with Davy Resource Group to complete the first phase. And I didn't say earlier, but that we're looking at the city street tree population as being about 30,000. So what we plan, that would make it a 3-year process. Our plan is to, by leveraging staff time with Davy, we're not only getting their service to get 10,000 trees done, but we'll be able to take that experience and that training and do our own inventory. So we hope to multiply that number greatly. We do have interest from the college, from Lake Forest College. We have a professor that's interested in doing it, possibly some himself, but he has students that he's willing to give credit to doing, for doing this, and he's in the environmental end of things, so he knows trees well. We would work with him. Once we're trained, we could work with him and provide oversight on that. So we would like to get this start and then get a lot more out of our own staff and through interns. And then hopefully we can get a vast majority of this done in the next year, year and a half. So, sorry I missed that earlier. To finish our recommendation to go with Davy Resource Group to complete the first phase of the citywide tree inventory. Any questions?
Chuck, as I thought about this one, we've mentioned 10,000 trees and parkways, $40,000 contract, it's $4 a tree. You mentioned the college, and I was thinking, why couldn't we hire for the summer a couple of interns, turn them loose with a digital camera and a GPS receiver, take photos from the street of each tree, note the lat longe, which is unique. You know, the GPSs have 1 yard accuracy. And if you paid them on a piecework basis, $1 a tree, they'd have the work done in a month and a half. So my question to you is, what are we getting with the software and out of Davy's expertise above and beyond just identifying the trees, their locations, their species and conditions, that a couple of interns can't do for us for perhaps a lot less?
Well, the end product with the software is the key that I'm after. That's the management tool that we'll use to do everything. So the software, the special software, is the key to all of this. So We could get the inventory done in other ways. However, Davy uses handheld, their GPS devices, but they're set up with, I won't go into the technical aspect of it, but it's a program called ArcPad. It's part of this GIS suite that we actually use at the city, but it's a very specialized tool that they use. Other companies use it as well. It's not proprietary or anything like that, but it's highly efficient. They can go around and do a lot of trees quickly. So to get the data, this gives us a huge bang for the buck. I wouldn't think that interns, one of my concerns would be oversight on that. I want to ensure that we have quality, and I think we could train people, but to set an army of people free to do the inventory, we want information on the condition of the trees. It's a lot more than just species. It's condition of the crown, of the roots, all of that kind of stuff. Disease or pest analysis. That's all the kind of expertise that Davy can give us. Our staff, our arborists, can do the same thing. So I think they're the key to this. Once they get trained on it, they'll be able to keep going and oversee it. But I think we're looking at having a little more expertise than interns can offer right now. We can use them to help get those numbers up, but we can get a lot more done right away. And as we said last time, if we could get it done this year, I would do everything we could so that we can start making those big decisions on EAB. So I don't feel that we could accomplish this with just having interns and staff. And our staff, of course, has many other responsibilities. I don't have to tell you that, but it would be tough to set them all on this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chuck?
How do we update this? Do we send people out each year to look at every tree?
Well, actually, that's where what I'd like to do is get a program where we do have interns down the road that are trained. That would be one option. But also through the maintenance that we do, one of the things that this software allows us to do is annual pruning cycles. So when we get to the point where we're on like a 7-year cycle, which means all the trees in Lake Forest are pruned in 7 years, that's a goal that we have. As you have staff out there doing pruning, you can set them up to do updates. The update isn't as bad as the original. They don't, they can go out there, they can pull it up on their, hopefully an iPad at that time, and they can do an update. So that's how I think it's sustainable, but sustainability is my biggest concern, is I know the old one wasn't sustained. This will be useless if we don't keep it going. And I don't want to come back in 5 years telling you that.
Are any physical markers put into the trees?
Not with this. They can, but we elected not to. Forest Park has tags on it from an older inventory. In my past, we used tags and they were more of a problem. With GIS and GPS technology, you can find the trees without a tag.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. I know we have some time remaining, and I believe Michael Thomas, did you want to talk about the recycling carts that'll be on the agenda this evening as well?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, staff is requesting City Council approval for the purchase of our remaining 3,000 recycling carts. We're actually asking City Council approval to waive the bidding process so we can purchase the carts from the same exact company we purchased them a year ago when we went out to bid. The price is increased by approximately 3.5%, and that is due to the oil that produces the resin that produces the carts. Resin has gone up 6.5 cents per pound, so there is an increase in this year's cart rollout. We'll be distributing the remaining 3,000 carts just like we did last year in September. We'll receive these carts July, August. We'll apply the decals on the inside and deliver them in September. This year we have so far 557 households that have signed up for the 35-gallon carts. Of the 557, 169 are people that have asked that currently have the 65 to switch them out to the 35. So a conservative approach we're going to take is order 1,000 35s, 2,000 65s, and we'll play the swap game this fall, which will take some logistics, but we're up for the challenge. So the only other item, we will also send out some information we discussed at this evening's Public Works Committee meeting, not only on how we will ask residents to place the carts, but also we're talking about the idea of leaving what we refer to as a door tag on the actual cart. Remember last year when the residents signed up for the cart, they could tell us whether or not they would like us to take their bin or whether they wanted to keep that. These remaining 3,000, that question wasn't asked. We're simply saying the rest of the households will receive a cart. So we will leave something with the cart that simply says, if you'd like us to take your bin, leave it out next week, and when we come by, we'll pick it up and we'll recycle the bins. Otherwise, you can keep them. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those.
Any questions for Michael?
Just a couple things, because we've got plenty of time at this point. As far as the funding for the card program, we've received the state grant again for $100,000.
Correct. The carts grand total for 6,500 households will cost approximately $300,000. The state, through the two grants that we received, one last year, one this year, through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, will be giving the city $200,000. So the state essentially picked up 2/3 of the tab. And that remaining $100,000 is coming out of our general fund, capital improvement dollars.
Okay, and we're still seeing an increase in the amount of recyclable items.
We have. If we look at we looked at our first 6 months of using the carts, again with only half of the households having carts, 3,600, 55%. The recycling increased by approximately 16.5%. Refuse went down 4.5%. So tonnage-wise, recycling went up 200 tons, refuse went down about 150. And our goal, as we wrote in our grant application, was to see a net increase in recycling between 15 and 20%. We've already achieved that with only 55% of the households having these carts. So we're well on our way. We're still receiving very good revenue for the recyclables, which is wonderful. We hope this fall it's a continued success.
Just again, to belabor cost savings a little bit, as far as manpower hours in processing the recycling, are we gaining hours on that?
We will, beginning in August, when we receive the replacement on the recycling truck that we received city council approval for back in January. If you can believe it, it takes 6 months to build one of those. But with the one truck that we have now, we're doing it automated. He's probably taken 2 hours off the route, and we're compacting the materials better, which in our world, we want to get as much on the transfer trailer as we can because we're getting charged per load. So we don't want to be overweight, but we want to make sure that trailer, when it leaves the compost center, is chock full. So far with the one truck we're using, it's working out very well. Second truck will make it even better.
Yeah, I'm just trying to impress on the people who are not using the recycling carts. It's a city savings, so again, we're kind of all in it to save money for the city as a whole.
Correct. Last calendar year, we received approximately $118,000 in revenue for recyclables, plus another $42,000 for metal and $3,600 in electronics. So the numbers are very, very good, and the system we've set up and the contract that we have with resource management is excellent. We're very proud of it. We're one of the very few communities in Lake County that transfers their material down to resource management, and we make very good money on it, and we want to continue that relationship. So obviously we're also saving at the landfill as well, as those tipping fees continue to increase.
Okay.
Any other questions for Michael? Thanks, Mike. We'll see you back at the city council meeting. I know we have a little bit of time. Ramesh, do you want to talk about the sewer lining? We can do that one as well while we have some time.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the Finance Committee. This year, again, as part of our annual infrastructure upkeep, we come back to the council for various programs, and one of the programs is the annual sewer lining. This year, city is doing the sanitary sewer lining, which we do every year, and the storm sewers we do every other year. City has close to 139 miles of sanitary sewer, which were, most of them was placed, I would say, in the 1950s and 60s, and mostly consisted of clay pipe material, which over time does deteriorate, and the joints crack, and then you have, with the earth movement and all, you see the deterioration of the pipe. The lining program is a, what we call as an excavation-less program, where there's a technique where they can put a liner in, it's like a resin liner, goes underneath the pipe, and with the assistance of hot air or hot water, they can expand that resin inside the pipe, and it sticks to the existing clay pipe. That way you don't have to dig the pipe, and you're also not compromising the design capacity of the existing sewer. Again, city has been doing this program for the past 5 years on a continual basis, and also this program also helps with what we call as an I&I, which is the inflow and infiltration. Inflow is the direct flow of water coming in from the gutters, sump pump going into the sanitary sewer, and infiltration is the groundwater infiltration, which is the storm water going into the sanitary sewer. Sanitary sewers are all wastewater sewer, which is our sinks, bathrooms, and all, and those are designed just to carry wastewater only. But with the infiltration and the older pipes, all the storm water or the rainwater gets into this sanitary sewer, and we see these occasional backups and surcharges during heavy rain events. So this program does mitigate all that extra I&I which can get into the sanitary sewer and help with the program. This year, again, city went with the consortium. We went with 6 municipalities to form a joint project, and we got good bids. The bid prices compared to last year were higher. We usually estimate 5% on the last year's price to get a good range. But this year, the prices, again, maybe because of the oil cost, the price is a little higher. So that's why our budget, our bid was a little bit higher than the budgeted amount. And the low bidder was Michaels Corporation. Michaels Corporation did work on the city 2 years ago on our lining project. They are a good contractor, and they've been very responsive. And our experience with them has been in a pretty positive, satisfactory manner. So when we looked at our budget and when we looked at our quantities and the bid specs, we were able to take out some to match what our budgeted amount is. So right now we are recommending this, the council to approve a contract to Michaels for the budget allotted amount of $200,000. During our Public Works Committee meeting, Alderman Moore did bring up that point of are we doing enough with the sewer lining? I think as we mentioned at the meeting, we are going to evaluate our program in this fall and see if we can add more quantities to be able to keep. Right now, we feel that we are matching what our requirements are, but can we up the quantity, sewer lining, so can we stay ahead of the curve? We're going to evaluate our entire system, both sanitary and storm, and come back with some recommendations at the November capital improvement program budget. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ramesh?
Yes.
You did such a great job, no questions.
No. It's the routine. I know you guys are tired of me saying the
Either
same
that or
things.
it's over their head, they're bored to death, I don't know. But thanks, Ramesh.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do have some time, and Deputy Chief Glenn Burmeister, you want to talk about your uniforms? That way we can have you come up now. You won't have to come back this evening if you wish.
Well, I'll stick around for the Deputy Chief Held
Okay.
ceremony, but thank you very much.
Is that one of those attractive new uniforms that we're talking about right there?
This is not new. Attractive is in the eye of the beholder. So, every year we spend in excess of $20,000 on uniforms to outfit the police department. And according to policy, and whenever we have expenditures more than $20,000, we have to go to bid. So we did that 3 years ago, and that time is up, ended April 30th. So on March 30th, I put a request for bids out. We advertised it on our website. I emailed and contacted various uniform vendors, and it was posted excuse me, at various buildings here as well. It was open for 1 month. During that 1 month period, then we received 4 vendors Kale Uniform, Uniformity, Galls, and VCG. What I sent them and put out for the bid was not a complete list, but a list of what we generally order for our officers as far as trousers, shirts, outerwear, jackets, sweaters, that type of thing. We asked them to price those items, and this contract is for a 3-year duration. So what we did is we had some vendors give a single price for all 3 years, while 2 other vendors gave a different price for all 3 years. Then I just converted those dollars to points, added each year up, and that's how they received that score that's in your packet. So Kale Uniform was the low score, and as in golf, we like the lower number. So it is our recommendation that we go with Kale Uniform for the next 3 years as our uniform vendor. Kale won the bid last time we did this contract. They've been around for 40 years. We've had satisfactory performance through them. They have a local sales rep, and for returns or wrong orders or things, other problems, we just pick up the phone call and he comes and visits us. So that's our recommendation.
Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
You can tell I was tired of all the hours I spent on Forest Park, so I paid attention to this. 33 sworn officers, $20,000 a year, that's $600 per officer. This doesn't include the fire department, correct? Correct.
It's in excess of $20,000. $20,000 is the threshold that the city has that we bring forward to the city council.
It seems like a lot per officer, though.
Well, to completely outfit an officer, just starting out is approximately $2,500.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow. I know you can go to Joseph A. Banks and buy 1 suit for $37 and get 2 free.
and we'd look more attractive too, I think, if we did that.
We need more plainclothes officers.
This year, our budget is $33,600 for uniforms. In 2008, or fiscal year 2008, it was 44. It has decreased from that number. Since then, our fiscal year 11 budget was 24,000. So during the lean times, we cut back in our uniform ordering, and now it's creeping up because the officers put off on ordering uniforms. We need to catch up a little bit.
Are those Kevlar?
We have Kevlar vests. This is good old polyester.
What happens to used uniforms?
Used uniforms get disposed of. They wear them for quite a long time until they're unserviceable. With our shirts, we remove the patches. Jackets, we remove the patches so that they cannot be used by anyone inappropriately.
Any other questions for Deputy Chief? No?
Thank you very much.
We do have a little bit of time. I don't know, Kathy Cerniak, are you prepared to talk about anything on the council? We have a couple items I know that you have coming up. We could probably get a little quick review and save us time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Finance Committee. You do have a recommendation before you tonight for tentative approval of the Spiel subdivision. It's actually been some time since the council has seen a subdivision. So some of you might not be familiar with the process. This subdivision is before you right now for no official action, but for tentative approval. Subdivisions that require infrastructure, new roads, sanitary sewer, storm, go through a two-phase process. This subdivision was before the Plan Commission for public hearing on 2 occasions, I believe February and April of this year. The recommendation for approval of tentative subdivision plat is before the council. If it's approved tonight, that really gives the property owner the certainty to move forward, spend additional money, spend additional time, have final engineering plans done, dot the i's, cross the t's, develop final landscape plans. If this is approved by the council tonight, the tentative approval is good for 12 months. During that time, we would work with the developer and the property owner. We would take this completed subdivision back to the Plan Commission, and then it would come back before you for consideration of final plat approval and approval of the associated special use permit. The property proposed for subdivision is 10 acres in size. It's located on the north side of Wesley Road, and it's just west of Green Bay Road. Many of you have probably driven up and down Wesley Road many times and never even realized that there's a 10-acre parcel back here. If you did drive up the driveway, it's a little bit offset from Red Fox Lane. If you did drive up the driveway, this is a pretty unique property tucked away. It has a pond in this area, some really magnificent oak trees right in the center, and it has a significant grade change, really picking up water from many of these properties, and right now dumping it on this property. So as part of this subdivision, there's a real opportunity to improve the drainage flow. Just to give you a little bit of a sense, and I know this is hard to read, but the areas on all sides of this property are already developed, with lots generally of the size proposed, generally 1.5 acres, but they range down to 1 acre, slightly less than 1 acre, and some larger than 1 acre. The Spiels have owned this property for a very long time. Mr. Spiel grew up in the property, and in fact, many years ago, his father actually subdivided off this 10-acre parcel. So this has remained in the family since that time. Going from too dark to too light here. As I mentioned, this is a 10-acre property. It is zoned R4 for 1.5 acre lots. What is proposed is 6 lots. Because it is within the Planned Preservation Residential Overlay District, that district encourages some adjustment in lot sizes to preserve open space, to protect significant natural resources, and to preserve historic structures. The family home is a Stanley Anderson home. This home will be preserved as part of this subdivision and will be located on the largest lot, which is about 80,000 square feet. The existing pond area will be enhanced with some viewing areas and paths, and the road has been configured to preserve these 2 very significant oak trees in the center. The other 5 lots range in size, with the smallest being this one at just over 1 acre, just at about 44,000 square feet, and the other lots ranging larger, but again, the smallest lot and the largest lot. The Plan Commission did find that this was in full conformance with the code requirements. At the first meeting, they were poised to vote, and then there was a discussion about whether this subdivision should be 6 lots or whether it would be better as a 5-lot subdivision. The question revolved around whether these 3 lots should actually be 2 lots. The Plan Commission sent the property owner, the petitioner, away to do some study, came back the next month, and really presented a very good case that the 6 lots is consistent with the allowable density in the zoning code, and that the 6 lots really responds to today's market demands, which tell us that we have enough acre and a half lots in the community. With these lots that are slightly smaller than acre and a half, it does allow smaller homes, and it does allow the preservation of this open space. If all of these lots were acre and a half, this 2-acre area, including this and the central area here, over 2 acres, about 2 acres and a third, would be lost, and more of the site would be developed. Backyards would be bigger, homes would be bigger, but we would lose this open space. And part of the value of this open space is it is going to handle a significant amount of water. So when this returned, the Plan Commission did recommend with 1 dissenting vote that this subdivision go forward with the 6 lots. There is a provision for a buffer strip in this area, which would be located on the plat as we go into the final phase, and then looking carefully at some vegetation along the perimeters of the site. So if you choose to do so, it would be appropriate to approve a motion approving tentative plat approval for the Spiel subdivision. And then it would come back to you at a later date. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kathy?
Just a comment, I think that historic preservation overlay does wonderful things, that this is a terrific development for this site. And you hit the nail on the head, 40,000 square foot lots are more what the market's looking for today than acre and a half. And it allowed you to preserve the 2 trees on the island and the pond. I think it's a terrific site plan.
Yeah, and agreed, especially with the wetland, it does help the neighbor to the west, which is curing a condition. Again, it's working with the homeowner. Has there been from the neighbors any type of objection or comment?
We did get a number of calls from neighbors. Not many showed up at the public hearing. They asked for information. We did hear from the neighbor who lives directly east on Wesley. It's a long, narrow lot, and they were concerned that they would actually border more than 1 lot with their side yard. And as a result, the petitioners brought back a proposal that creates a 50-foot buffer here. The eastern 25 feet will retain the existing vegetation, and then additional vegetation will be put on the western 25 feet. And this 50-foot strip could not be the site of swing sets or any amenities. We also heard from a neighbor in this area with concerns about what trees would be removed, what vegetation. This part of the property is pretty heavily vegetated right now. Some of that will be cleared up as home sites are developed, but coming back, the landscape plan will address those 2 areas.
I just see it as a positive, especially what they're working with to preserve the wetland, create the buffers. I think it's a sensitive plan for all.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Would I be pushing it to try to get any information on the Green Bay Road property, just to give us is your planning intern here?
He's not here yet, and I promise he will be brief at the regular meeting, but it's a good opportunity for him to present very briefly to you later.
I thought I'd get a chance to pronounce the name correctly.
I have a cheat sheet for you.
Okay. All right. Any other business this evening? Bob? No? If not, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene here at approximately 7:30 for the city council meeting. Thank you.